Our next presentation is math and music, with Doug Acker, and that's going to be brought to us by the Thornapple Arts Council, the Hastings Community Music School, and the Michigan Council for Arts and Culture.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hey everybody, I'm Doug Acker. I'm one of the teachers at the Hastings Community Music School. Today we're going to talk a little bit about music and math, because there's a lot of math involved in music. Well, I started that first piece out by going 1, 2, 3, 4. That was not just for no reason at all. It gave me the speed of the song. And we have to talk about the beat a little bit. The beat is the pulse, the steady pulse that's behind every song. So in that song, 1, 2, 3, 4, that was 4 quarter notes. Bum, 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 bum. So we know that when we do quarter notes, that we have to be very consistent with our speed. So besides telling us how fast the song went, we also learned that it's 4 beats to the bar. That means 4/4 time. 4/4 time means 4 quarter notes in every measure. Now we know, if we've studied a little bit at all, we know there are quarter notes, and we know we can divide those in half and make 1/8 notes, or we can divide those into 4 parts and make 1/16 notes. Or you can put a dot after your quarter, and that means you have to add another half a beat. When it says 4/4 time, that means every measure has 4 beats. So you can't just all of a sudden put 2.5 beats in a measure. Now, like a lot of beginners like to skip over the long notes and jump ahead, but that pulse has to be there for every measure. That 4-beat pulse, or if you're in 3, that 3-beat pulse has to be there. It's a steady thing. And all the notes, 1/8 note, 1/16, quarter, half, they all got to add up. If we're in 4/4 time, they all got to add up to 4 by the end of the measure. And then the next measure starts, and that has 4 beats of all different kinds of notes, but they all add up to 4. So 4/4 time can go at different rates of speed, and that's what we call beats per minute, or the tempo of the song. Because the song could go really slow, and then my beats would be, if I did 1 beat per second, that's called 60. The tempo is 60. Or I can double that and go twice as fast, and the tempo would be 120 beats per minute. Now, there are tools to help us figure these speeds out, and the main one being a metronome, which can be, even nowadays, you can download apps from the internet, and it'll give you the pulse of the music, and then you can keep perfect time as you work on your music. When we don't have a metronome, we like to tap our foot to kind of help us keep that steady pulse in our head. Usually I don't even know I'm tapping my foot. I'm just, because I'm feeling the music and it comes out of my foot. So you might want to do that when you're practicing your songs. Tap that. Let's get back to that 120 beats per minute. So if my seconds are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is more like 120 beats per minute. I come from Alabama with the banjo on my knee, going to Louisiana, my true love for to see. So that's about 120 beats per minute. All right, another example of how we use math is dividing up the notes into quarter notes and 1/8 notes, and half notes are 2 beats, a dotted half is 3 beats, and there's a whole note that's 4 beat. Well, today I would just like to give you an example of a song that's uses 1/8 notes for most of the melody. So the first Johnny Be Good. That's about a little faster than 120 beats per minute, more like probably 150 beats per minute. And the tune is actually sung to mostly eighth notes. Da, 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 da. Then they do a little syncopation with it, but mostly it's just the eighth notes. But then let's just take a song that's primarily quarter notes. All right, I never know what key to do this one in. Oh, my joyful Beethoven has written ode to joy. Oh, why has this song long lasted, joyful ode to joy? So, bam, 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 that's all quarter notes. So that's the difference between writing a melody with fast notes like eighth notes and slow notes like quarter notes. So there's a lot of math involved just in the timing of our songs. And then we have different ways that we write the music. We have 4/4 time, that means 4 beats in every measure. 3/4 time, that means 3 beats in every measure, like I was dancing with my darling to the Tennessee walls when an old friend I happened to see. So the Tennessee Waltz is a typical example of a song written in 3. Now there's another special area of eighth note usage where we do 6 eighth notes in one measure. That would be a 6/8 time. That's a little different. Now you got ba 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 ba. And my example today is actually even more than that. It's a 12/8 song. Some of the early blues used a lot of 12/8 12/8 timing. So let's go back to that and maybe do it in an easier key to play. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but because it's 12/8 time, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That would be 12/8 time, like some of the very early blues. So let's go back to that, the idea of the blues. Now we got ba 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 ba. That's our eighth notes, but they're in sets of 3s. There's 4 sets of 3s in every measure. And what I'm going to do, and after we do this, we're going to segue to the 12-bar blues and try to understand what that means. So here we go, a little bit of the basic blues. Triplet, 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 triplet. There's your 12/8 timing that gives you the, and also, so that's 12/8 notes in every measure, but there were 12 sets of those when I did that progression. A progression is the pattern that the chords take when you're in any song. Every song has patterns of chords. Another relationship with math right there. So the 12-bar blues is been around for quite a while, and a lot of music was written in that style, and then they realized that they could actually kind of use that style and use quarter notes. The thing about the 12/8 was, even though I'm going da 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 there's also this underlying da, 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 because I'm tying the first two eighth notes together, and I'm getting dun, da, 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 dun. But all the while, that steady triplet is behind the whole thing. All right, so let's get back to that idea of how they actually learned to do the blues in just 4/4 time. What we call swinging the eighth notes now. This is back to 4/4 time though. I'm going to Kansas City, here I go. I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, bum, ba, da, da, bum, ba, da, da, bum, ba, da, da. They got some crazy little women there. I'm gonna get me one. So that's an example of how they kind of transitioned from the 12/8 and made it into a 4/4, but it's still very similar by swinging the eighth notes instead of playing steady eighth notes. Like Johnny B. Good was steady eighth notes. So that's the difference. You can swing your eighth notes, and then you get more of that bluesy effect, and that's what we did with Kansas City. Now I'd like to come into a different area now about how chords are formed, because we want to get to this relationship of not only the 12-bar blues, but the 1-4-5 pattern. And that's how a lot of the blues songs were constructed. So what does that mean? 1 is the first note of the scale. So if I'm in A, that's going to be my 1, 2, 3, 4. So my fourth note is a D, so that was my second chord. And my fifth note is an E, and that was my final chord. So I've got 1, 4, 5 in kind of mixed up a little bit, but in a blues form. So that's what we call the 1-4-5 pattern. And a lot of songs, country songs, all kinds of songs are written with 1-4-5 patterns. So that will depend on what song you're doing, but or what key you're in. So if I'm in the key of G and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, my 4 is going to be C, and my 5 is going to be D. So I could do 1, 4, 1. Now back to 4. Oh yeah, coming back to 1. Oh, it's so good. Now we're gonna go to 5, and back to 4, and back to 1, and turn it around to 5 for the ending, and then it starts over again. Again, I used the 12-bar blues example, but I did a chord structure that followed based on what key I was in. So let's talk about that a little bit more. What is 1-4-5 for some of the main keys? Like if I'm in the key of C, I go up 4, I got F, and my 5 is going to be G. So C, F, and G are commonly in the same song if the song is in the key of G. And if I start in the key of D, I go up 4, I got G, I go up 5, I got A. So that will give me D, G, A. She's a good-hearted woman in love with a good time, and man, here's my 4. Now I'm going to 5, who loves him in spite of his wicked ways. She don't understand. Back to 1. And through teardrops and laughter, they'll pass through this world hand in hand. 4. And finally 5. This good-hearted woman, loving a good time and man. So there you go, a country song. Very, very common in country music to use that 1-4-5 pattern. So one thing that students should try to learn is for every key, what is 4 and what is 5. So if I'm in the key of D, it was D, G, and A. And we talked about the key of C, C, F, and G. If I start in A, it's going to be A, D, and E. I'm just counting up the scale. And let's talk about the scale just a second. The major scale is written do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Well, we'll put numbers on those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I'm making my chord, I'm going to go with 1, 3, and 5. G, B, D, G. So it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 8. Or 8's the same as 1. So it's really a series of 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. And on up as far as you can hear. That will all be a G chord, those 3 notes. Now if we want to make a minor chord, the only difference, which is a really big difference and really changes the sound, the 3 is flatted. So now I got 1, flatted 3rd, 5. That's a G minor, much different than a G major. So those are how we construct our major and minor chords. Again, all based on math and following the numbers of the scale. All right. So Johnny Be Good, we did a little bit earlier. We're not only doing eighth notes, but we're also following that 1, 4, 5 pattern, because it starts in A, goes to D, comes back to A, and then it goes to E. So you got the D was the 4 and the E was the 5. It's a very straightforward, but now that's where it transitioned from the blues into rock and roll, because they were using straight eighth notes and it wasn't swinging. It was just fast eighth notes. So even the singing might vary somewhat, but the backup on the guitar and drums is going to have that steady eighth note thing going on. All even eighth notes. Go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go, go! Go, go, go! Johnny Be Good! So we have applied our knowledge of eighth notes, and we've come up with one of the earliest rock and roll songs written by Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good. It also follows the 12-bar blues form, although it's not called blues anymore because it was straight eighth notes, so they called it rock and roll, because that was right around, well, pretty close to the early years when people first came up with that term rock and roll. But it does follow the A, the D, and the E are the chords. That's 1, 4, and 5. And it follows the 12-bar pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Go, go! There's our 12-bar blues converted to rock and roll. Chuck Berry does it with Johnny Be Good. Yes. We're rambling and talking about math and music, and we're having fun with the forms of the very basic blues, and with the form of using the 1, 4, 5 pattern for our chords, which we built off of the scale used with the bass chord. So that is a very, very common throughout music, even today, that is written, even though the rhythms are different and stuff, you still hear a lot of those same connections. And even if it's not that simple of a song, every song has a pattern, and that's how we relate music and math, and you can learn many songs, and the more you learn, the more patterns you're going to kind of see repeated by other people in different songs, and then you're gonna start making connections, because a song might go oh, 1 2 4 5 1 2 4 5, or it might go on and maybe have 6 different chords that repeat in a certain way, and then it might have a little different section where it uses 3 or 4 different chords, or maybe 1 or 2 of the same with something fresh added in to mix it up. And a lot of times that depends on the melody you come up with. So back to what we began with, we know that when we hear the singer go 1 2 3 4, he's really telling us how fast the song's going to go. He's telling us it's in 4/4 time, and that's why you will hear that in so many songs as they start. So I'd like to just leave you with 1 2 3 4. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, we hope you have enjoyed the show. Sergeant Pepper's one and only Lonely Hearts Club Band, sit back and let the evening go. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Wow, I know. I just learned a lot of cool stuff. All right. So Doug, we have Doug on the call with us today. Doug, if you can, let's see, give me 1 second. Uh, unmute yourself and put your video on. That would be great. But this was presented by the Hastings Community Music School, so I want to thank them so much for presenting that. I know somebody said in the comments section that Facebook Live, I'll never listen to the blues without thinking of this again now. So amazing. Thank you for this talk. We're still trying to, oh, there we go. Awesome.
I'm just getting hooked up here. Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm with you.
All right, awesome. So I know one question that we have is, what instrument do you think would be the easiest for young students to start learning music on?
I believe that I believe the piano is the easiest instrument, but not in all ways. But because it's so logical, you can see all the notes right in front of you and how they progress right up the keyboard and down the keyboard. It just has the most logical look to it compared to the guitar, where it's a little more at random, what note comes out of every string.
Yes, I know I learned the piano first as well. Advice would you give to someone who wants to learn more about music and math? Like, what age would you say would be a good age to start on?
In my experience, it's usually about 8 years old is about as young as you want to start. I've had students start younger, but they usually struggle. It's hard, especially on guitar. It's hard for them to push down the strings and stuff like that. But I know that a lot of piano students do start a little bit younger.
What about at older ages? Can we still learn if we're older?
Yes, we can learn when we're old. I've got lots of adult students that, I mean, people almost my age, so they're kind of getting up there in years, and they learned fine, and some of them never thought they could do it at all, and they just stuck with it, and all of a sudden, after a year, they were like playing really amazing stuff.
Great. And I have one more question for you because I don't see any more from Facebook. where can we go to learn more? So where can we go to learn more about you guys?
About the,
About the Hastings Community Music School or the Thornapple Arts Council?
all right. I would probably, where would we best look for Hastings Community Music School?
You can look on Thornapple Arts Council webpage.
So we look for the Thornapple Arts Council webpage.
Under Performing Arts.
Under Performing Arts. And that's the Hastings Community Music School is in there.
And we have our own Facebook page.
We have our own Facebook page. So that would be the Hastings Community Music School Facebook page.
Yes. Those
Awesome.
are probably the two best ways to find us online.
How about that?
That sounds great. Thank you so much, you guys. That was such a great video. As someone said, they will never listen to blues the same way. Neither will I. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yep. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.